3 years ago this week, Republican Colin Powell endorsed President Barack Obama. Colin Powell, of course, served as Secretary of State in the Bush administration, George W. Bush, that is. He did a great job gathering support for the bungled and pointless Iraq invasion. And it wasn't just domestic support. We later learned from Colin Powell himself that he knew he was misleading the American people, that the intelligence he was using to bolster that case for the war in Iraq was not 100% accurate. And even though he still identified as a Republican post-Bush, he did throw his support behind President Obama. And a lot of right-wingers were quick to say, hey, the Republican Colin Powell is only supporting Obama because they're both black. And nothing seems to anger Republicans more than when one of their own endorses a Democrat or leaves the party, isn't it?
Yeah, they really hate that. It's like this club, this special club, and when you speak out against something they decided collectively, or you leave the club, it's the biggest sin, Dave.
And I wonder who Colin Powell will endorse in this upcoming election, if anybody. Maybe it just doesn't really matter. Maybe Powell won't be looked to for an endorsement.
Well, I can't say I know Colin Powell that well, but I'd have a really hard time believing that he would put his support behind Ben Carson or Donald Trump. And so I really don't know. Yeah, maybe I'd like to see him throw his support behind Bernie, Dave. That would be fantastic.
That would be fascinating for a number of reasons, particularly because as a guy who grew up in the military world and worked in the military world until he was eventually Secretary of State, which still is a role that has a lot of overlap with the military. That in contrast to Bernie Sanders, who is widely considered a pacifist by many, although Bernie Sanders is just against pointless military invasions and actions. He said that sometimes, like in Kosovo, you do have to engage the military. There are other times where you do have to use the military. He just seems to be against pointless use of the military. That would be fascinating. Colin Powell endorsing Bernie Sanders. I think for sure, if we are going to get an endorsement from Colin Powell, it won't be until after the Democratic primary. As we've talked about before, though, Lewis, most endorsements don't matter that much.
Yeah, at this point in time, what would an endorsement from Colin Powell really mean? I don't know. Maybe it depends on how much media coverage it gets.
Yeah, and it's not just about Colin Powell. Like, we're not saying endorsements from him don't matter, but just
Right.
generally, endorsements have not been shown to be that impactful. And I think that's what we will keep an
Well,
eye on.
Dave, unless they are endorsements from megachurch pastors, right?
Oh, yeah, then it's huge, yeah. Which, of course, is a reason that they should be losing their tax-exempt status.
Yeah. It's basically illegal, but it still sways a lot of people.